Lord, we thank you for this time together as we gather and do the county's business. We thank you for the opportunity that we live in a free country, that we can come together as citizens in a community and help to make decisions that are best for the community. We pray for your wisdom and your guidance in all the decisions that we make tonight and always. And pray that you would just guide our steps. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would propose two changes to the agenda. The first being that we move item 12 under new business up to item 1 under new business. And the second being that we need to discuss and approve the Corps of Engineering's planning for the Old Buck County Road. Anything else? I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We need to approve the minutes from the 9/11 work session meeting, the 9/12 public comment meeting, the 9/12 regular meeting minutes, the 9/16 executive session meeting, and the 9/16 special call meeting minutes. Are there any corrections to those minutes?
I do not have any trouble.
If not, I would make a motion that the minutes be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Angie, would you do our financial statement, please?
This is the financial report for September 30th. Each department should be at 75% of their expenditure budget used. Departments over budget at September 30th are the Sheriff's Office at 80%, Detention Center at 85%, Superior Court 81%, Fire and EMS at 76%, E911 Dispatch 78%, and the Juvenile Court Fund is at 85%. Overall, we are at 50% of the total revenue budget received and 75% of the total expenditure budget used. Total revenue received to date, $11,339,827. Total expenditures to date, $17,066,841.
Are there any questions on the financial statement? Okay, thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
This brings us to citizens wishing to speak. Anybody that would like to speak on any topic, please go to the podium and give your name and make whatever comments that you'd like to make. If there's no one wishing to speak, we will go to
And this is the chance to speak on the lake.
on the lake.
Also, so
Same thing.
if anyone is here to speak on the lake, this is your chance to speak. I just want to make sure everyone understands that.
We had a pretty good discussion on this.
I just have expectations, you guys, so I'm guessing in these two.
Hello, my name's Rebecca. I just think that overall the lake here, Carter's Lake, the people here in LJ enjoy the lake a lot. And people who visit from out of town also enjoy the lake. I've got a business here in town in which I heavily encourage people who are staying with us to go enjoy the lake, and I think that it is very important for tourism and businesses growing to be able to have access to the lake.
Thank you.
Buchanan. B-U-C-H-A-N-A-N.
Anyone else who would like to speak?
Hi, Hi, I am Jill Ponder, and our address is 641 Holden Road in LJ. My husband and I both grew up in Gilmer County, used the lake all the time we were growing up, always had access to the beach. Our families use the lake now. We also have businesses that are connected to the tourism industry. As a matter of fact, we are doing a boat and RV storage for Carter's Lake. Right now, it'll be up and running in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So I feel like everybody that's campaigning always mentions how important that tourism is to Gilmer County. And the lake brings in a lot of tax dollars, a lot of SPLOST tax, sales tax, and all of those things. So if there's any way we can keep the lake up and running for the longest season possible, I think it's important to all the citizens of Gilmer County to have access to the recreation at the lake. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak? Before we go on then to our unfinished business, I would like to apologize to the Corps of Engineers. I asked them yesterday if they would consider keeping the boat ramp open as a good faith gesture while we're going through all of this, and they very graciously agreed if we could get some volunteers. They put up a notice on their website saying essentially that they're willing to keep it open if they can get some volunteers for some light work, and provided people with a place to go to volunteer. I read some of the comments under there, and people just absolutely attacked the Corps. Mercilessly, I thought. Some of them were just downright vicious. A lot of them were very reasonable and appreciative, but there was no need. And the people who were making the attacks honestly didn't know the background. Based on the comments, they really didn't understand what was going on, and so I felt bad that I kind of put y'all in that position, and I do apologize for that. So, and hopefully going forward.
Well, how many ramps are closed?
Right now, there's only the one, and it may already be back open. We had asked them to go ahead and reopen that one. It was only closed for the season, and they agreed to go ahead and reopen it if they could get some volunteers to help with, maybe blowing leaves off the road and that sort of thing.
And I will clarify that, Charlie, because it actually never closed. You're talking about Woodring. They can put the posts up to put the gate up,
Okay.
but because of our discussions and work sessions and the volunteers that have stepped up, I just got word, and I don't want to speak for, there is a
I
representative.
fished there last night.
Yeah. I just felt bad because so many people went into attack mode on that side, and it's just uncalled for. So,
Never do anything by social media.
pretty much, yeah. Okay. First item under unfinished business is discussion of possible action of life flight coverage for the citizens of Gilmer County. That actually, we've got both proposals now. We received one proposal last month, and the concern that I had is that we have two providers for that service in Gilmer County, and and you get the first available, which of course is what you want in that situation. But if we only had an agreement with one of the providers, it's a 50-50 chance whether when they come and get you, you'd be covered or not. Yesterday, the second provider made a recommendation for us. So at this point, I don't think it's so much an issue of an up or down, yes or no vote. I think what we do is we take those figures now and we see if we can plug them into the 2020 budget. So that will now become part of the 2020 budget process. And essentially, if we can do it, we will, and if we can't, we won't. But it will become a budget process now. So
I'm good with that. Yeah, I think that's a great way to handle that.
That brings us to discussion and possible action of lease or cooperative management of property from Corps of Engineers. What we kind of came away with yesterday in the work session is that we don't really have a high comfort level with a lease. I'm not sure the Corps actually has a high comfort level with the lease right now anyway, but we do not want these facilities to close. We do understand the importance to the people of Gilmer for recreation. We understand the economic importance of it. So what we also understand though that this is not something that is going to happen in the next couple of 3 months. So what that does is it's going to give us time to make a plan. And I think before we go into this, the county needs to have a plan. We need to decide exactly what it is we're going to be doing at each site, what it's going to take in terms of manpower at that site. Are we going to be hiring employees to do that, or are we going to stay with the contractors that are doing it now? Will it require purchasing some additional equipment, I don't know, mowers or whatever? There's just a number of questions that we need to work out, and we need to have this all worked out and down on paper and have I believe, a formal plan. And then, for myself, I would feel comfortable into going into the cooperative management plan on these 4 sites.
I do agree. I don't want to rush into anything. I did have 2 updates just today, so it's funny how this project kind of, like all of them, moves ahead really quick and then stops, and moves ahead really quick and then stops. But I had 2 great conversations just to update those that are interested with one of the issues for us in moving into a cooperative management agreement with the Corps of Engineer is that how would we, the reservation system. We obviously have never been in the camping business or reservation business before, and that was a big question mark. But I had a great conversation with Reserve America today, and it is a very easy process to step into that for governments. Governments have come to them with similar situations before. And they gave me some numbers that were really actually pretty exciting. There's no upfront cost to the county, and it's a per reservation made, just a credit card fee per se. And then they set up the all of the software and everything. So we're part of the benefit of being part of Reserve America too. Is that's already a well-known site that people are familiar with, and it's almost like a tourist, another way of advertising Gilmer County and LJ, because on that site you put in search cities and then they come up. So that seems to be a great possible answer to that. And so I was very encouraged. Spoke with them, they do the training, and it looks like that could be a great answer to that question.
Is the anticipated cost for that such that we would not be under the bid requirements?
It is. Correct, it is. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly the kind of thing that we need to get all various details and have incorporated into the plan that I'm talking about.
Right. And I'll continue to work on that, those little things, Charlie. I also had a great conversation. I know I spoken to you about reaching out to Mike O'Quinn with ACCG to do some consulting work with us. He's a former attorney and has a relationship. David's familiar with him, and they've worked on things before. I actually sent him over the cooperative management agreement that just initially started from the Corps that they sent us. And he was pleasantly surprised with it. He said, yes, there's some things we need to flush through to make sure. But that's a service that, as a member of ACCG, that we can use his services for free. So that's great that we can use him as a consultant on it. And he's familiar with the property, and so he's gonna be working with us and helping me, and I'll just continue to kind of work on answering the questions and figuring out what all some of like we're talking about, the questions are, that we need to make sure that we're good and not taking as little risk as possible. He loved the 90-day out with cooperative management, and that is, we have pretty much decided to go towards the cooperative management on the recreation sites. And there is a 90-day opt-out. So if we get involved, the county gets involved, and we are not able to, or it's just not working out, then we can let the Corps know, and we can find 90 days and can be released from that agreement. So that's a great thing to have in place. Just
Well,
secure.
it makes me feel very comfortable,
Right.
whereas I had concerns before.
Yeah. So that's just sort of an update there for that, but I think, and again, even with speaking to Mike, he was pleasantly surprised that we had a great relationship with our Corps, with our lake. And he said, that's really gonna help. And I said, yes, they're our partners in this community and our friends. So we just wanna see how we can both work together to, along with citizens stepping up and volunteering to make it all work for the best.
Well, what we're going to be doing is, we're going to leave this particular item on future agendas, so that we can update, and at whatever point we get the plan all squared away, we'll already have it on the agenda, and at that point we can take a vote and get this thing going. So we do appreciate all of the people that have come here and that have spoken out on this. And I do want you to know that you have been heard. We do understand the value of the recreation, and we do understand the economic value, and nobody here wants to see these places close. So, with that, I don't think that we need any kind of a vote tonight, unless y'all have any other comment that you would like to make on this. We'll probably go on to the next item then on the agenda. Yes, sir.
What kind of a timeline is
You need to come to the podium and state your name, please.
Well, I'm Bradley Davenport. I was just wondering, what kind of timeline does Army Corps of Engineers give y'all to make a decision on which route to take?
They're not setting a particular deadline on us. And when you say which route to take, are you talking about between the lease and the
Yes,
cooperative
between the
management?
lease or the cooperative management.
Well, I think we've already made the decision that there's not going to be a lease, it'll be cooperative
Okay.
management. It's not an urgent situation. I think the first closure, actual anticipated closure, full closure, and by full closure, I don't mean permanent closure necessarily, but full closure of all that facility may not be until 2022. There may be some partial closures that would occur before then.
Okay.
We are not under pressure from the Corps or timeline pressure right now to do this. So that's why we want to just take our time and make the plan. At the same time, we don't want to just leave it hanging out there, because this reservation process that Carlene was talking about, people can go in right now and make reservations. When they do, they make it through the Corps' reservation agent.
Yes.
Every dime that is taken in out there, whether it be from reservations, launch fees, you name it, goes straight to the federal government's treasury.
Yes, Treasurer.
To the U.S. Treasury. It does not come back to Carter's Lake. So the situation is such that if we wait until a bunch of reservations have been made and that money has been sent to the Treasury, and then we decide to enter that cooperative agreement, we're going to have to honor those reservations, but we don't get the revenue for it. So I don't think of that as a real urgent timeline crunch, but it is a consideration that makes us think we don't necessarily want to hang around for 6, 8
Okay,
months.
I just didn't know if they had set a date on when you needed to make a decision about my main issue.
No, they have not told us we have a deadline for that.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay,
And
thank
that's
you.
a fair question, because I did have some emails asking about that after they posted their public post for the October 25th. So I had some emails questioning about that, so it's really good. They are aware that we want to work with them, and so they're working with us on our timeline.
And if I give any erroneous information, Ms. Miriam, if you'll stand up and holler no. Well,
Do you want to say anything before we move on to another?
Yeah, let me come on.
yeah.
For those of you who aren't familiar, I'm Miriam Fleming. I'm the Operations Project Manager at Carter's Lake. And I wanted to say thank you to everybody who volunteered yesterday. We had people after the public meeting yesterday that had volunteered before I ever got back to the office. So we've got a list, we're working through it, so the gates are not going to close at Woodring Branch. And I want to reiterate that even if it comes to a point where I have to close a park permanently, there will always be access to the lake. You are always going to be able to get on the water. It may not be on the ramp that you want to get on, but there will always be ramps on both sides of the lake open, even if it comes to the point that I have to close things. So there will always be access. I just want to reiterate that. But I do appreciate everybody's interest. It's really important for us. This is a new venture, and I'm really glad that we have a relationship with the county that we can even talk about this, because that is not the case throughout the nation with the Corps. Some places it's very difficult to work with the Corps, so I'm really glad that we have this relationship and that we can even talk about it. I'm just glad we're moving in the right direction, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no other questions on that, we'll move to the next item. And that is going to be some items that we need to take care of on the Crow Engineering to get this repair going on Old Bucktown Road. Now, as I mentioned, the first page of this is just a summary. It's all done. Task 14 on the next page is in progress. Much of that's already done. Item 15 has been completed. We were invoiced directly from the surveyor on that, so we'll be subtracting that amount out totally.
Okay.
16 is to be completed. Item 17, we took out separately because we wanted to go ahead and get started on that as quickly as possible.
Right.
So we'll be subtracting that amount out from here.
Okay.
So we've got, essentially, we're looking at a total of $51,800, and it will be minus $7,100 and $1,600 that we just discussed. So we'll revise that figure to subtract out those amounts. And I would make a motion that I be approved to sign the authorization for this.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, appointment of a member to the Building Authority Board. I would nominate Bill Craig for that position, and Bill is willing to serve, and I would make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adopting the first reader to amend the chapter titled Animal Control Ordinance of the Gilmer County Code. We're making just a couple of changes to our animal control ordinance. The biggest change that we're making is there's a section in there right now. I guess I probably, instead of trying to paraphrase it, should just get to it.
Listen.
I've got this one in there. first thing that we're going to be doing will be addressing, declaring an animal to be a nuisance animal, public nuisance. There will be a section put in that says it is unlawful for any owner to have an animal in his or her care, charge, control, custody, or possession that is considered a public nuisance. To be considered a public nuisance, and this is not a change, this is the way the ordinance reads currently, is an animal that is found at large, damages the property of anyone other than its owner, chases vehicles, attacks other domestic animals, unprovoked, attacks pedestrians or passersby, has been found by an officer of the Department of Animal Control to be a public nuisance animal by virtue of being a menace to the public health, welfare, or safety, or is found sick, dead, or injured on public property. Now, we are adding a section in here that says, in the discretion of the animal control officer, this is involving issuing citations to the people that own these animals. In the discretion of the animal control officer, an owner may be issued a warning one time in lieu of a citation. Those I think of as more sort of cleanup kind of things. The big change to me is the way our ordinance currently reads. There is a section that says destruction of animals seized 3 or more times. If any animal is seized and or impounded under any of the provisions of this chapter on 3 or more occasions, the animal shall be destroyed at the discretion of the Animal Control Department. We think that's a little harsh. So we do need that authority, particularly if it's a very dangerous animal. But that shouldn't be the only option. So the change would be, instead of destruction of animals, will be disposal of animals seized 3 or more times. If any animal seized or impounded under any of the provisions of this chapter on 3 or more occasions, the animal may be destroyed or otherwise disposed of at the discretion of the Animal Control Department. So if an animal is seized 3 or more times, the situation is such that that animal does not need to be returned to the owner. This will give us an option other than just destroying the animal if we can find a rescue group that's willing to take it or something like that, assuming that the animal is not dangerous. So I think that's something that we need to give us more flexibility. And that same item is in there one more time. In a section where it says thereafter the dangerous dog shall be destroyed in an expeditious and humane manner. We will add or otherwise disposed of at the discretion of the Animal Control Department. So we had public comment on that earlier. Didn't get any public comment. This is the month when we would authorize or vote to do the first reader on this and essentially send it to next meeting where it can be finalized. So I would make a motion that we approve the first reader on this.
Second.
Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adopting the first reader to amend the chapter titled Commercial River Outfitting. We really should delete that part. Or table everything, I'm sorry. We determined in our work session yesterday that changes needed to be made such that they were a little too extensive and we need to kind of start this process over again. So we'll have another public comment section next month and we'll start this one over. David, do we have to have a motion? Okay, good. Adopting the first reader to the chapter titled Broadband Ready Community Ordinance of the Gilmer County Code. There's a big push now to make sure that particularly rural areas have access to broadband. There will be, or we hope there will be at least, money that will be allocated in the future to help some of the rural counties to develop that broadband capacity. If that happens, one of the first requirements will be that we need to be a broadband-ready community. That puts us in line to allow us to apply and get these grants. So this is not a change, this is a new ordinance, broadband-ready to make us a broadband-ready community. And I would make a motion that we adopt the first reader tonight.
Second?
Oh, is there any discussion on that? If not, all in favor? Aye. Resolution to adopt the updated community work program and capital improvement settlement for Gilmer County and the cities of LJ and East LJ. Carlene, you want to take that one?
Yes, this is a second of our comprehensive plan, or part of what we need to just have in place for the capital improvement settlement for Gilmer County. Part of our comprehensive plan. I guess I'll really just say that.
And that's required by Department of Community Affairs in order for us to maintain or to remain what they call a qualified county. And by qualified county, if you're not a qualified county, oh gosh, just all kinds of bad things happen. So it's something that we really have to do. I would make a motion that we adopt the updated community work program and capital improvement settlement for Gilmer County and the cities of LJ and East LJ.
Second.
Any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution to adopt the Gilmer County Joint Comprehensive Plan for 2020 to 2024, including the cities of LJ and East LJ. This is much the same situation. Department of Community Affairs requires this in order for us to remain a qualified county.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot more thought that went into this. The other one was kind of a checkbox. So this part, I just want to say thank you to all of those that worked hard on this joint comprehensive plan. It has been months and months of work and meetings and dedication. And I encourage all of you, if you would like to see the joint comprehensive plan, it's on the county website, to go there and see what the plan is that your local governments in your community have planned out for the county. I think you'll enjoy reading through that, 120-page document, but you'll get the gist of it in the first 10
What you have to
pages.
actually say is you will enjoy.
No, I'm very proud of it.
I'm
I
kidding.
appreciate you, Charlie, giving me the opportunity to work on it, because I really did. I learned a lot through the process, and it was a great joint team, a cooperative team coming together with the folks from East LJ and the city of LJ. So I appreciate all the time that's gone into it and work.
Well, did we actually?
So we do, yes, we do.
No, I said, did we?
Oh, we did not vote yet. No.
All right, then I would make a motion that we adopt this plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a rezoning request from John and Anita Schilling from A1 agricultural to R1 residential low density. I believe this is the one where they had a little over 5 acres, and they wanted to, for the second residence, split the parcel and build a residence. Personally, it was approved by the Planning and Zoning Board, and personally I'm fine with it.
I as well.
Okay, then I would make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Any discussion? I guess we can have discussion on that one, Kim.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
One more rezoning request from Lisa Merrill, Devin Merrill, Shelby Merrill. This is from A1 agricultural to R1 residential, low density. And it is to pull out some acreage to have enough to build a residence. It was approved by the Planning and Zoning Board. Personally, I'm good with it.
I am as well.
And then I would make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See how much better this goes than the work session? Discussion and possible action of approval of an RFP for demolition of 2 poultry houses at the airport. Well, it just slowed down a bit. We do have RFPs, and we're essentially going to have to go through a grading process on those now. And so probably what's going to happen is we will not be making that approval tonight, and instead we'll put it on the agenda for November.
Just wait until we get to the rest of it.
Until we get through grading all these. Okay. Discussion, possible action of budget amendments. The primary one was for about $14,000. And it was for an employee that was transferred from one department to another. And the intention is to move the remainder of that person's salary for the year from the department they're leaving to the department they're going to. The second one is to move money that is currently in the road, capital road budget for a motor grader, I believe it was. And we would not be getting them motor grader. Instead, we would move that money to solid waste capital budget and add it to money that is already there to help cover the expenses to replace the lift station that is out at the solid waste department there on Tower Road. This is something that we've had a failure on that. We've got it Band-Aided. We're getting by with the EPD with that Band-Aid as long as it holds and we don't have any other leaks. But we've already started the engineering process to get it replaced, and it's not optional. So this will allow us to more fully fund that replacement of that lift station. Sandy, do we have to specify the amounts specifically? Okay, because I don't recall the exact amount for the...
It was 240.
240, okay, so that will be moved into the lift station. I will make a motion that those 2 amendments, budget amendments, be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion, possible action of lease renewal with State Properties Commission. Basically, we're just waiting on that. So, now once we did decide that we were going to change some of the parameters on that. We've been leasing this for many years, since way before my time. And at the same rate, it hasn't gone up. So we're going to raise that lease rate a little bit. And we're going to put in a clause that says each year it'll go up by 2.5%. Because what's happening is the cost of the utilities and so forth that we have to provide is increased dramatically, and there's been no increase in the rent. So we'll be sending that out to them, and we'll see how they respond. And at that time, it'll be appropriate for a vote. That brings us to, do we have any need for an executive session? Okay, with that in mind, I would make a motion to adjourn.
I second that motion.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, folks, we appreciate it.
Take the